Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. This is episode 112. I'm Mark,
I'm Jasmine.
and Geeks Unleashed, what we are is a weekly geeky podcast where we chat about geeky. Yeah, we do what we can. Where we chat about our geeky habits while mixing in a review of comic book movies or TV shows every week.
Mm-hmm. And before we get started, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We would also very much love it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, we appreciate that as well. We would also love it if you would leave us a review, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser.
Also, please give us your money at Ko-Fi. Any little bit helps to keep the meter on.
Yes, every little bit helps.
So before we
busy week, right?
It's busy week.
Busy news week, anyway.
Oh yeah. It was the announcement that we all knew was coming.
Yeah, our buddy Jimbo finally got his shit together, it seems.
It's I've noticed some mixed and fair reactions from it. So
yeah, there are a lot of these things, I'm gonna be honest, I've never even heard of. So
okay, so let's just jump into it. So
yeah.
Jimbo set up a 10-year plan, and he's revealed, I think he said most of it or some of it. I would assume there's some curveballs to come out. I guess it leaves him some wiggle room should he want to play around with things. So what we know is that Flash will be a reset of the DCU. Mm-hmm. What I've noticed is that he's just referring to it as the DCU, not the DCU anymore.
Right.
They've put Matt Reeves's Batman and Todd Phillips' Joker under this thing called Elseworlds. Okay. I've also seen that Superman and Lois, the CW TV show, may carry on for another season or two. So those things are safe. I would put money on it that they're safe for probably the next 2 years. And then I would assume, and we'll talk about the plans of Superman in a minute, but I would assume that once the new sort of DCU 2.0, so to speak, happens, I would assume Superman and Lois is probably on his end of days.
I imagine Superman and Lois is going to run until July 10th, 2025.
Yeah, at least that far. So, and then what's going to happen is, so Flash will be the reset. And what I say is the reset is going to reset portions of the DCU.
Which is not really a surprise because Flash was always going to be a multiverse film. We've always known that.
Yeah. I think it was, it was not planned by James Gunn and Peter Safran. However, it's kind of nicely fallen into their laps as a way of resetting things. If they hadn't had that, they probably would have done something else. So what they've said is that we've got some movies coming up. We've got Shazam this year. We've got Aquaman. We've got Flash. We've got Blue Beetle. And I think they're kind of really going to be old DCU, but Flash will be the reset. What they've said is that the next 10 years are going to be split into 2 chapters. The first chapter is going to be called Gods and Monsters. So do you want to, me and Jasmine are going to flick between the two of them.
Yeah, so they've broken it out between film and TV. So they're doing a whole bunch of stuff on HBO Max, and then they're still doing a whole bunch of film stuff. So
before you start, so the aim is to do 2 TV shows and 2 movies per year. So
that seems very ambitious for a complete reorganization. So I'm interested to see if they can actually keep that pace. Yeah. And if they do, they're probably, I mean, obviously they're not starting until 2025, which is you'll talk about that one in a second, but that's going to be the first one up. It's the Superman film. But on HBO Max, they're going to be doing follow off right from Peacemaker, and they're doing a Waller spinoff. It's called Waller. And Viola Davis is going to come back and reprise her role as Amanda Waller. So that one is basically just kind of all of the same stuff. So they're pulling in the folks who had some writing for Doom Patrol. So Doom Patrol is going away, but hopefully some of those guys are still going to have jobs, and they're just going to just walk right over and start working on Waller. I'd be interested to see what they do with that. I honestly, of the split between the first Suicide Squad film and the second one that James Gunn did, I did not like the changes that they made to Amanda Waller. So I'm not that interested in the direction that his version of Amanda Waller is going. I really liked her as a more serious character in the first Suicide Squad film. So we'll see what they do with the wall in that one. But anytime I get to see Viola Davis on TV or in a movie, like, I'm there. I'm sold. I'm excited. So I'm looking forward to Waller. And then another one of the shows that they're going to do, it's going to be an animated series. It's called Creature Commandos. And I'll be honest with you guys, never in my life have I heard of Creature Commandos. Like, this is the first time. I have no idea who these people are, what they're doing. But apparently they're fighting Nazis, so I'm down for that. So, yeah.
I think this is what Peter and James have said, that they want to now create a coherent animated TV, movie, and game universe now. So everything's connected.
Well, listen, the TV shows and the games have been doing really well. Like they are well done, well written, well acted. So it makes sense. It makes sense that the TV branch and the movie branch would be talking to each other. So if James Gunn can actually make that happen, then I'm all for it.
So the first movie, which is kind of the starting point of this new DCU, it's called Superman Legacy. It's meant to be based off of Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman. It's not an origin story, they've said, but it's going to be kind of Superman just figuring out his stuff, his way in the world, his Kryptonian heritage, dealing with being a human. And
let's be real, Superman is finally going to feel like an immigrant. We're going to see how that goes for him.
I think he's mainly always had that feeling, Did you hear that?
No. What was it?
Oh, it's a helicopter flying over.
Oh. I thought you were getting a call from the Fortress of Solitude or something.
No, not yet. I was just thought, it was pretty low. It was going right over my house. Anyway, so go on, carry on.
All right, so
actually no, hold on. Did I say when it's coming out? July 11th, 2025. So that's when.
Yeah. So that's, as far as we know, that's first thing up. So Superman is going to be the first thing up. It's going to kick everything off. There are absolutely no dates for anything else. Nothing else has been penciled in or even placed in the schedule. They just kind of have released a breakdown of TV and film. So the next TV is Lanterns, which honestly I'm super excited about. There was supposed to be a Lantern show that was going to be on HBO Max, and Greg Berlanti, who is the architect of the Arrowverse on CW, was supposed to be in charge of this Lanterns TV show. That has gone away now, and James Gunn is doing a Lanterns TV show. But he said, and this is interesting because I think it could actually work because of the kind of background that the Lanterns have. This TV show is very much going to be in the style of sort of what HBO has already done before with True Detective, which to me kind of either means it's going to be like hard edge kind of serious tone, or it's going to be one of those anthology things where every season is different characters, but it's all like in the same realm. But it's going to follow Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and any excuse to have a Jon Stewart on screen, I am so down for. So I'm very interested to see how this Lanterns TV show plays out as well. Yeah,
me too. I'm actually really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think seriousness was the only way. The seriousness tone was the only way they could approach it.
Unless especially after the way that they did the movie so horribly with Ryan Reynolds. I love Ryan Reynolds, but like Hal Jordan was not the character for him.
I think he would be better as a Guy Gardner type.
Yes, he would have been a perfect Guy Gardner.
He would have definitely been the Guy Gardner. He would have made Guy Gardner his own. If they actually did, I mean, look, don't bring him back. Don't do any of that. But if they were to,
Deadpool has effectively killed him, so it's fine.
If they hadn't have made him Hal Jordan, he would have been a perfect Guy Gardner.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so next movie is The Authority, which I've actually never read a single Authority comic. What I do know is The Authority is based off of Jim Lee's Wildstorm characters, which Jim Lee sold Wildstorm across to DC a long time ago. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know that much about it. What was I going to say here? What we've got here is not what is it here? This is what Gunn said. Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy, giant things from the sky, and good guy wins. There are some white hats, black hats, grey hats, and then Saffron added, they are kind of like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. They know that you want them on the wall, or at least they believe that. So I think I get the feeling it's a bit of a more serious tone of Avengers. That's kind of
what it seems like. Or it seems like if anybody remembers the poorly executed Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix, it sounds like it could be something like that, where it's
Something
like
similar in that,
yeah, in that vein of the heroes that are trying to walk the line, or maybe like a very toned down version of The Boys, where it's like, are you good guys or are you bad guys? I don't know. We'll see.
All I remember is Brian Hitch did, I think, the artwork on it, but I've never read it. So
yeah. So the next TV show is Paradise Lost, which is going to take place in Themyscira, and it's set before Diana is born. So it's kind of they. I don't know how they're going to make this work, but their reference point for Paradise Lost is they have touted it as a Game of Thrones style drama, which makes me a bit nervous because Game of Thrones had a crap ton of nudity, and I don't really see any need to have a bunch of naked Themyscirians like running around on screen. I'm cautiously optimistic about Paradise Lost. Like if they're going to take the Game of Thrones like CGI and the Game of Thrones kind of violence, like I'm okay with that, but I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know. The fact that they compared it to Game of Thrones makes me a bit nervous. But Paradise Lost is gonna be set in Themyscira, there where the Amazons are kind of going to war, where things kind of open up and it all takes place before we get Diana. So
I'll be honest with you, of everything so far, is the one I'm the least interested in.
I mean,
Anyway, we'll go through at the end, but that's the one I'm the least interested in. Anyway, next up, The Brave and the Bold. So
loved that cartoon.
I've never seen The Brave and the Bold.
Diedrich Bader was the voice of Batman in that cartoon, or was he? It was either Diedrich Bader or Anthony Ruvivar. Oh, I can't remember.
So this is going to be the introduction of the new DCU Batman. It's probably not going to be Ben Affleck. It probably is not going to be Michael Keaton. It's probably going to be somebody new. So we're going to have Matt Reeves' Batman doing its own thing, but then we're going to have The Brave and the Bold, which is going to be a father and son story. New Batman and the son. From comic book fans will know that Bruce Wayne actually does have a son, Damian Wayne, who I think, I've forgotten his name, that as a girl's daughter, is it Talia?
Talia.
Talia, yeah. So Bruce and Talia had a daughter together, and Damien showed up in the comics during, strangely enough, Grant Morrison's run on Batman. So Grant Morrison seems to have quite an influence here so far. So Damien in the comics is, I don't know, 10 or 12 or something like that, and he's an assassin, and this story is going to follow that story, and it's based off that Grant Morrison run.
And there's a lot of Court of Owls stuff in Batman the Brave and the Bold, so that could be interesting if they're going to play up the Court of Owls. I mean, we kind of got that in Gotham, but Gotham just was all over the place, really.
Yeah. So something I've been wondering for a while, I did have a theory that they might incorporate the Batman into the DCU, because why not? It's Matt, was it Patterson's younger? He could be playing Batman for the next 10, 15 years. Yeah. So, which I got the feeling was where James Gunn wanted to bring in a lot younger actors to play these tentpole characters.
Yeah.
But strangely enough, he's actually going to be respectful of what Matt Reeves' vision is and leave it alone.
Right. So like you said, he put Joker and the Batman in their own kind of universe for now. But again, this Flash film is going to open up a multiverse. So who knows how everything is going to be. Like, once this Flash film finally comes out, I think we'll all have a little bit better idea of what they're trying to do, just because it seems like this film is going to be the hinge pin of getting us from the old guys to the new guys.
So the Batman new film is so the sequel. They've announced the sequel is actually going to be out October 3rd, 2025. Currently titled The Batman Part 2. We'll see. I don't know. They may not. They may call it that. They may not. We'll see.
Well, I guess that's their two films for the year. They're doing a Superman film and a Batman film.
I wonder if it's two DCU films and the Batman and the Joker outside of that. So
I don't know.
I would envision that it's going to be two DCU films, but 2025 could be a busy year for DC.
So at least they're giving themselves a little bit of time, it seems. Although the Batman and Joker both already had their own sequels and writing and all of that stuff in the works before all of this happened. So again, outside of the main realm of the DCU, but still adjacent. And then the next TV show that they're going to be doing is Booster Gold. And we had a conversation. I can't remember which episode. I'm going to try to figure it out and put it in the show notes. But we had an episode where we were like, if Chris Hemsworth ever came over to the DCU, what character would he play? And my vote was Chris Hemsworth should cross over from the MCU, and he should play Booster Gold, because I think he would be an absolutely perfect Booster Gold. But Booster Gold is going to be a series that they're going to do at HBO Max, which I'm actually kind of excited about, because Booster Gold is like that classic, just like overbearing, egotistical, like really great at his job, but he's a dick about it kind of guy. So I've always loved every iteration of Booster Gold that we've seen. Like, loved Booster Gold in the animated stuff, loved the Booster Gold that they had in the CW universe. So I'm super excited to see what we do with the Booster Gold, and to have a series. I think that'll be fun. And I trust Gunn in the realm of series, because I really, really, really enjoyed what he did with Peacemaker. So I don't know, we'll see. James Gunn describes this whole Booster Gold thing as the imposter syndrome as a superhero. So we're gonna delve into some like mental stuff going on inside Booster Gold's head. So I think this one could be interesting. I think of all the TV shows, I'm looking forward to Waller, but I think Booster Gold is probably the one I'm looking most forward to.
I imagine it's going to be comical, but also like heartfelt, like really heartfelt at the end.
Yeah,
as he's going to probably reflect on himself quite a lot. So you couldn't just follow a complete Joker. Anyway, there's going to be another super movie. It's going to be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's going to be taken very much from the Tom King miniseries that came out in the last few years. I think it was an 8-issue miniseries, which is now going for crazy amounts on eBay. So I didn't buy it because I'm not the biggest fan of Tom King. I think my thoughts on Tom King I've made very clear over the years. I think you now what I've realized is you could read a Tom King comic and you should only read the speech bubbles and ignore the narration. Like that tends to make his comics flow a little bit better. Anyway, James Gunn seems to be a fan, and we're going to see that. So Supergirl,
Woman of Tomorrow. I enjoyed Superman, Man of Tomorrow. That animated film was actually pretty good. So I don't know. Maybe this will be in line with that. We'll see.
What was it? So they said, this is what they said. Right. We will see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents. From that time, he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then comes to Earth, where she is
hardcore Supergirl, huh?
Hardcore, and not the Supergirl we're used to. So maybe she's going to be a bit tougher, a little bit more hard-edged.
I don't know if that's the case. Like, based on that description, then to me in my head that just screams like Michelle Rodriguez should be playing Supergirl.
Maybe. So didn't they cast someone to be Supergirl like in the last few years?
Did. She popped up in oh no, I can't remember her name, but they did cast a Supergirl. But since they got rid of all their other DCU casting, I don't know if they're going to keep it.
They'll probably get rid of that as well. It's probably going to be a new casting. Well, I feel sorry for these people that get told they're going to play certain characters like Batgirl and Okay. Anyway, the last film, Swamp Thing, a horror movie that promises to is going to close out the first chapter. So I get the feeling from this Swamp Thing it's going to kind of be standalone. I think it's. I got this feeling it was a bit vague whether it's DCU or Elseworlds. Like he didn't seem to be particularly clear on where that sat. Like that's the one thing I wasn't particularly clear. All the others were definitely DCU.
Yeah, this one has the least amount of information behind it. But the fact that they're going full horror could be kind of exciting. I think the TV show that they did, it got canceled. I think it was on NBC before it moved over to the DC. What was that?
No, it was on the DC Universe app, and then they moved it to HBO.
Right, because they lost their tax incentives. I believe they were filming it in Louisiana, which makes sense for a Swamp Thing film. But my only knowledge of Swamp Thing comes from the Jeff Johns run on the Blackest Night for the Green Lanterns. So that's the only time I've ever been familiar with Swamp Thing. I've never actually read an individual, like a standalone Swamp Thing comic, but I mean, I think this could be cool.
So just to quickly summarize this whole thing. So we've got TV shows: Creature Commandos, Waller, Lanterns, Paradise Lost, Booster Gold, and then from the movies we've got Superman Legacy, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, the Batman sequel. Obviously, we've got the Joker sequel that we already know about. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Swamp Thing. Of those things, what are you most looking forward to? I would say pick a movie and pick a TV show.
Okay, pick a movie. The movie I'm most looking forward to is it's going to be The Brave and the Bold. I really enjoyed that cartoon, so I really want to see what they do with the live action version of that. And then the TV show, as much as I'm excited about Booster Gold, honestly, I am really, really, really interested to see what they do with Lanterns.
Yeah, do you know what's really weird? Like, you've picked the two I'm the most interested in.
Funny.
I'm not bothered about this Superman thing. We constantly keep over the years since I was a kid, Superman reset after Superman reset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just bored of it. Just
pick one and run with it.
I know I'm going to sound like I'm some Zack Snyder fan. I'm not, I'm not. Like, he did some good stuff, he did some bad stuff, he made some mistakes along the way. Some of the tone wasn't right for every certain character or film, but they should have just stuck with what they had. Yes, okay, there was no contract. They made a verbal agreement. They should have stuck to it, and I would be more than happy if Henry Cavill had still been Superman and we got Man of Steel 2. Why they should, and Henry Cavill could have easily played Superman for the next 10 years. He's pretty young and healthy and fit. And they could have done something like they're doing with the MCU. He could have handed over to his son or Superboy or something if they were concerned. Or they could have just done a recasting in 10 years' time. People wanted Man of Steel 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not excited to watch another sort of Superman
a start over, a do over,
another start over. I'm not interested at all. Look, I'm going to watch it, obviously, but it's it's not, and I'm sure it's going to be
forward to.
It's something I'm sure is going to be good. But The Brave and the Bold, I like what they're doing here. They're doing Superman and his son. They're going something different.
Batman
Batman and his son. They're doing something different, which we've not seen that on a TV show, in a movie before, or a TV show. We've not seen that at all live action. So I'm really pleased to see that dynamic between Damian and Bruce. So look, Batman aside, I actually did think the first Batman as well was pretty good. So the Batman movie, so I'm actually looking forward to it.
Apparently people voted it their favorite film last year, which I don't know how, because I guess none of you people saw Top Gun Maverick, but whatever, I'm still not bitter.
I've seen both, but I hadn't seen Top Gun until after the vote. But anyway, TV show wise, I would say Lanterns. I like the idea of finally getting a Lanterns TV show. I was really hoping we would have got John Diggle as Green Lantern from the Arrowverse. He would have been a brilliant John Stewart. I would love it if they cast him. They should even just don't make it connected. Just make him John Stewart. Like, just give him a chance. He would do it in a heartbeat, and he'd be good at it.
I think since they canceled that Constantine reboot, I think they should cast Shobi Diop as John Stewart. I think he would be an amazing Lantern. Plus, that dude's fighting skills are on point.
Was Constantine 2 definitely been cancelled then?
No, there was supposed to be a Constantine TV show. They had recast Constantine, and he was going to play Constantine. And for those of you not familiar with him, he was in Gangs of London, and he is fantastic in that series. So they canceled that Constantine TV show. So now he is not going to be John Constantine because they brought Keanu Reeves back and they're doing a Constantine sequel film. So since HBO did him so dirty, I think the least that they could do is offer him a John Stewart role. Plus, if he's playing a detective, honestly, I think Shobi Diop is the way to go with casting John Stewart as Green Lantern. Give it to him. Come on, HBO. Come on, Jimbo. I'm giving you some advice here.
Do you think that, before we finish off and move on from here, do you think that Constantine 2 will be Elseworlds or part of the DCU?
I think it's going to have to be Elseworlds. I think if they are going to bring Joker into the fold, I think they're going to have to bring Constantine into.
The Joker movie.
Well, it's still Elseworlds, but they have claimed it as being adjacent to the DCU. And I think if you're going to pull Joker that close to this DC universe, I think you're going to have to pull Constantine too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a name drop or something at the very least in some of these Constantine films, because that's the one thing we didn't have in the first Constantine film. There is no mention of any other DCU characters, not a single mention. And I think at the very least, I'm not saying that we're going to get cameos or anything, but just to prove that we are in the mix, I think we might get some kind of name drop in this Constantine sequel.
One of the things I've wondered is if once the Batman and the Joker have wrapped up their movies. I assume we'll get a trilogy of Batman movies. I'll assume there's going to be a trilogy of Joker movies now.
Which why we
But
don't need it.
I
But
know, we don't need
whatever.
it. But well, if people stop going, then they'll stop making them. So
I still cannot believe that the Joker made as much money as it did. Like
over $1 billion, yeah.
It's
so.
literally the story of a guy throwing a fucking tantrum. Like,
Anyway,
never mind. That's a whole other conversation.
What I think is once they're done, I think that James Gunn will probably stop these Elseworlds movies and just have his DCU. I think he's kind of been stuck with these projects because they make money.
Yeah.
And DC are like, no, they make money.
Yeah. DC is definitely like, no, we're not shutting down $1 billion franchise. Sorry.
Yeah, like James Gunn probably wanted to kill them off because he's, let's be honest, how much cancellations have we seen? Titans have been cancelled, Doom Patrol has been cancelled, mostly
you literally got rid of Superman and Wonder Woman. Like nothing is off the chopping block, right?
He's cancelled pretty much everything. Yeah. And I'm shocked that Superman and Lois has kind of been given at least a season or two more. But I reckon 2025, that will be the end of that show. I think he very much wants one Batman, one Superman, but I think he's stuck with the Matt Reeves and the Joker, the Matt Reeves Batman and Tom Phillips Joker. I think DC has said, look, they make a lot of money
to ignore.
We're not going to say goodbye to those, right? Because we don't know how much money your franchise is going to make, and I think that is actually one of the big concerns. Yes, okay, he's laid out this whole project, but what if the Authority only makes Black Adam money?
Oof.
I think
what a dig there.
And no, but then how quickly is James Gunn's job going to be not very safe?
Right. I think if he can avoid scandals, I think that they will keep him around for a significant amount of time. But we'll see. DC is very prone to scandals, so we'll see.
Well, I just think if they throw, if say Superman Legacy doesn't make what they want it to make. Are they going to say, look, James, mate, look, you've gone and got rid of Henry Cavill, who people would have gone to see,
right?
Replaced it with
who knows, some guy. It's going to have to be someone that no one is familiar with. Like you're going to have to get some up and comer because you can't recast it. Like you can't do what Netflix did and be like, yeah, we're going from Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth.
I just see it as some random Australian guy, like just somewhere, or some English guy, somebody that no one's heard of.
Yeah,
maybe been on Australian or English TV, but that is it. So
I really wish though they would revive because they shut down that Ava DuVernay film because she was going to be doing the New Gods, and I wish they would do something with that. I wish they would bring her back or do something in some capacity because that was a film that I was very much looking forward to. I would love to see a woman director get her hands on Big Barda. I think that would be epic to see on screen. So hopefully we get to see something like that at some point. Maybe that'll be phase 2 of this new DCU reboot or something. We'll see.
So normally me and Jasmine catch up on kind of what we've been watching or reading or playing or whatever through the week.
Whatevering.
And and I'm sure there's plenty of whateverings that we've done, some anime on Jasmine's side or some Korean K-pop music or something. And so she's been putting on her I've forgotten that group, that little boy band Korean.
Little. They're not little. Come on, man. Yeah, no, BTS. Don't be hating.
You've probably got a BTS top in there somewhere in your flat. So, sorry, apartment. Anyway, and I've been playing some Switch stuff. But anyway, we've watched the same film.
This only happened when we did Black Adam. Like, we didn't talk to each other about it, but we both went and saw Black Adam. And we were like, hey, let's just review Black Adam instead of what we had planned. But yeah, we both saw Plane.
We were both going to do Black Adam the following week.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I saw Black Adam last night. I saw Black Adam last night. I was like, okay, let's just do it tomorrow instead. Yeah. So, but over the weekend, we watched Plane.
Yes.
So it's not going to treat this as a proper review. But so Jared Butler plays Brody Torrance. Mike Coulter, everyone's favorite Luke Cage, plays Luke Cage. No, he doesn't. He plays Lewis.
Gaspar,
something. Anyway, there's a bunch of other TV actors in this. It's a real low budget. Actually, I'd love to know. I didn't even look it up. Do you know what the budget is?
It couldn't have been much though. You've only got two big guys in it, so
Honestly, this was done on like a shoestring budget. I'm saying no more than 10 million. No,
This-
like no.
I mean, but
no.
they used the money well. I'll give them that. I will give them. It did not feel like a low budget.
I wasn't far off. 25 million.
That is amazing. Who even makes action films for $25 million anymore? Like, come on, that's a bargain.
So far, it's made 33.5 million. It came out over the last few days. Came out about 3 or 4 days ago. So, by the way, we're recording on the 5th of February. So, this came out, I think it was like on the 2nd or 3rd of Feb, something like that. So, this film. It says this film was announced in 2016, was acquired by Lionsgate in 2019, reacquired, then it was sold off again, reacquired in Lionsgate by 2021. It was shot in Puerto Rico. Apparently it was released mid-January in the United States. But anyway, so the plot of it is very simple. Jared Butler's plane.
What plot?
The plot. There is a plot. He's flying home. Is it New Year's Eve? Yeah, New Year's Eve flight. He's got a very stupid manager. I don't know what, air traffic controller. Thinks it's intelligent to tell him to fly above a storm. And I love some jokes in there about, you're the meteorologist now.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'd never fly. There was like 14 people getting on a plane. They would cancel that flight. They would
First of all,
fly.
I have flown out of Singapore. It is one of the busiest airports in the entire world. There is no way that they have a 747 plane leaving Shanghai Airport and there are only 14 freaking people on it.
They did that purely because of budget, and also they didn't want to have mainly budget because they didn't want to have probably a realistic 100 people landing on that strip. So it would have been more difficult to have managed, but also that's 100 people's salaries, 100 people you got to feed on set, makeup, etc. Anyway, so they had 14 people getting on the plane. As they're about to take off, Mike Coulter suddenly with his
he's a fugitive that is being extradited to the US.
I was going to say is like, I don't know, FBI person, whoever it was
his handler.
His handler, bringing him on. His handler gets killed off. The plane gets struck by lightning. They land in the middle of nowhere, and the action all starts to basically save them from these sort of militants that are on the island.
Yes, they happen to land on an island that has no government and is run by militants.
But do you know what? Like, I don't want to say much more, but I love this movie.
This movie was great, man. It was so fun.
You could feel the cheapness of you could feel the cheapness of the movie. I'm not gonna lie, but it was a good movie. It was good. It was funny.
The characters were fun. Like, it was easy to just like be like, okay, brain, you sit here. I'm gonna sit here, and I'm gonna enjoy this, and I'll pick you up later. Like, it was just very much like an hour and a half of, this is great. Like, I mean, the violence in here is over the top. Like, people getting shot with 50 cal. Oh my god, 50 cal rifles, and I was just like, there would be no body left if you got hit with the 50 cal bullet. Like, this is amazing.
There's some executions too as well.
Oh my god, somebody got run over by an airplane. When does that ever happen? This is amazing. I love this movie. Everybody should go see Plane, please.
Overall, though, I loved it. I thought it was a great film. Like, definitely go and see Plane.
Yes. Plane is fun. It is seriously one of those films where it's like, this is exactly what you signed up for. It is not trying to be anything that it is not. It's very much like, what are we doing here? How did we get here? Oh man.
So we won't say any more about it. Just go watch it, enjoy yourselves.
Yes.
But, actually no, the only thing I want to say, talk about Mike Coulter's character. Lack of character development.
Oh yeah.
Now they set up a mystery about Mike Coulter's character. Yes. He's arrested for homicide, which I thought you would uncover throughout the movie. But literally nothing is revealed about him at all, other than he potentially could actually be a nice guy. Like, he does.
It's something that happened 15 years ago, apparently, when he was in the military, I believe, the U.S. military. He fled wherever he was stationed, went and joined the French Foreign Legion, and then for 15 years he's been on the run. And they caught him in Bali, and then brought him to Singapore to extradite him back to the U.S.
So the movie does end with him fading away, shall we say.
Yeah, with $500,000 cash.
What I would say is it sets up a sequel.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, do we want or need a sequel?
Absolutely not.
I think that it's going to very much depend on, does this make money?
And not enough for a sequel.
So no, let's just say 25 mil budget, and let's just say this makes 300 mil, like, which it could do. Like, we've seen low budget movies make 300 mil. If this makes 300 mil, they'll make a sequel.
Yeah,
like,
they
I'm
will.
telling you.
Yeah. I mean, what was funny to me about Mike Coulter is, and he's like this in all of his roles, like, he is so soft-spoken. So, like, even in the scenes where he's supposed to be like mad and like yelling, he still like has this very quiet, yelly voice. It's just kind of like, who's going to take you seriously? Like, I can see that you have this giant freaking like assault rifle in your hands, but you're practically whispering. Like, what is happening here? Like, you should be angry and there should be yelling, but there's none of that. Mike Coulter is just like so even keeled and so soft spoken. It's just like,
what I envision will be with a sequel, they'll only probably do it if they can get Jared Butler back.
Yeah.
So it'll be probably Jared Butler going to help him or something like that. So
I think it'll be Gerard Butler is going to get reinstated as like an A-list pilot. I think he will stop flying these crappy flights. They kind of go over why he got demoted as a pilot in the film, but I think he'll be promoted. And I think it's probably going to be like, if they did a sequel, it would be them running into each other again. Like, it would be complete happenstance. I don't think that either one of them would reach out. But I think it would just kind of be like, you, oh my God, hey, what are you doing here?
Right. So we'll stop talking about plane now, but yeah, watch it, honestly.
Yeah,
switch your brain off, watch it, enjoy it. Anyway.
It is definitely a popcorn, just have fun with it, guys, but it's worth it.
So for this week's comic book movie / TV review, it's Ant-Man 2015. So there's a lot of characters in this movie that it's sort of based off of. Let's just work our way through. So Hank Pym is played by
Michael Douglas.
Yeah. God, I went blank then. Sorry. Michael Douglas. Anyway, his character first appeared as Hank Pym in Tales to Astonish number 27, which came out in January 1962. He then appeared as Ant-Man same year, but in Tales to Astonish issue 35, which came out in September 1962. So his protege, or in the movie, Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd. His first appearance as Scott Lang is in the Avengers 181, which came out in March 1979. And then as Ant-Man the following month in Marvel Premiere 47, which was April 1979. So Hope Van Dyne actually is in the comics called Hope Pym. Her first appearance is in April 1999 in a comic called A Next, issue 7. I remember A Next. It was when Marvel were doing sort of a second generation of characters set in a fictional future. So Janet Van Dyne appeared as the Wasp in Tales to Astonish issue 44, and obviously as herself, which came out in June 1963. So most of these characters are from the 60s and 70s, other than Hope, who came from the 90s. So now this was written by Edgar Wright, Joe Cornish, Adam McKay, Paul Rudd, which I was quite shocked that Paul Rudd had a writing credit.
Yeah, I saw him when I was watching the credits, and the he got a screenplay credit, and I was like, what? Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
I wonder if it was kind of on set. Did he ad lib?
Well, yeah, I probably to play up to his strengths. He was like, "Hey, let me help you guys out. Let me help you make me look good."
Yeah.
Is how I imagine that went.
Directed by Peyton Reed,
which Marvel gave him a second chance. Didn't Peyton Reed do Fantastic Four? Am I making that up?
I can't remember. Anyway, do you want to?
Yeah, so it stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Corey Stoll, Bobby Cannavale, Michael Pena, T.I., Anthony Mackie, Wood Harris, Judy Greer, Abby Ryder-Forston, David Dastmalchian, and Michael Douglas.
Released July 17th, 2015, with a running time of 117 minutes. The budget on this was,
about 170.
Yeah, about 170 million. Made box office of $520 million US. So,
which is Marvel. I don't know. Like, that seems That seems like not a great margin for a Marvel film.
I think if you think about it, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, unknown characters,
Yeah.
it's probably in the vein of Black Adam money.
Yeah.
And
I think it was very much a bridge film because I definitely remember back then it was just like I had no interest in Ant-Man. In fact, I did not see Ant-Man until after I saw Civil War because I was like, I don't care about that. And then when he popped up in Civil War, I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to go back and watch Ant-Man now.
it's do you know what? Like, we'll talk about the film, but they obviously had it planned of his necessity to the overall structure of the film. They must have even known that they would use him in Endgame. So, do you want to summarize the movie?
All right, so short, sweet summary. Armed with a super suit with astonishing ability to shrink in scale but increase in strength, cat burglar Scott Lang must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, pull off a plan that will save the world.
So, what's your overall thoughts on Ant-Man 1?
Definitely enjoyed it this time around than the first time I saw it. But it was fun. I would say if I were to go back in time and if I had watched it in the order that it actually came out, it's definitely a very different tone than the rest of the MCU at the time because all of the other films were pretty serious. We were just coming off the Sokovia Accords and Avengers 2, and everything was just kind of heavy in the bigger picture MCU stuff. So this film really brought a lot of levity. And watching it again now, kind of knowing how the whole first 4 phases play out, it just, I don't know, to me it was definitely more enjoyable knowing how far the character eventually comes. So I enjoyed it a lot more this time around. It was fun, it was funny, and it wasn't as bad as I remembered it.
Was it? I was say, I can't. When did this?
2015.
Yeah, it came out in 2015. No, I was just thinking. Did you? I'm trying to think. What movie did this come out of before or after?
Well, the mid-credit scene was a direct follow from, I mean, not mid-credits, the end credit scene was a direct follow from the end of Age of Ultron, where they captured Bucky and he's
Okay,
oh
right.
no,
No,
no.
I've just got it. No, it's a phase. So it's phase 2. So this is a phase 2 movie. So there was Iron Man 3, 2013, Thor: The Dark World, 2013, Captain America: Winter Soldier, 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy. That was the first one, 2014. Then we had Age of Ultron, 2015, and then Ant-Man, 2015. So this actually was the last of the phase 2 movies. So
yeah, and it's a direct connect to the end of that one. Yeah.
So then the next movie in which is the first of phase 3 is Captain America Civil War, which Ant-Man is in. Yeah. So this is the last of the phase 2 movies. And this is where I think well, if you look at the phase 2 movies, they are predominantly built up of Iron Man and Captain America and Avengers. Of that phase 2, we've got Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, where they are their risk-taking movies. So that's them starting to take a chance. So phase 1 was just made up of Captain America, Thor, Iron Man,
the big guys.
Avengers.
Yeah,
the big guys, which was a good way to start. Just start with people that
you start with your heavy hitters.
Your 10 pole characters. Your Supermans, your Batmans, your Captain Americas, your Iron Mans, and then in phase 2 they predominantly held up phase 2 with 10 pole characters, threw in Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man.
Introduce new people.
Yeah, they started to introduce new people. So I think it was a good move, having that level of stability whilst also making room for the sort of the new characters. So anyway, my thoughts on this movie. I think Paul Rudd is kind of shocking in a sense that he's actually really good at it. Like from having seen him in as Phoebe's husband in Friends, and just all these comical roles that he's played over the years, and yet he does have comedy in this.
Yes,
he also really mixes it well with action and everything like that. I was thinking, as a movie, this ticks all the boxes. It's a good standalone film. You don't need to have watched the other MCU.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Movies. But also it ticks the other box that it is well placed in the MCU. So if you're a fan of, actually, I like everything connected, I like a shared universe, it ticks those boxes. If you're somebody who's more of a casual watcher, you don't need to. They set it up nicely. They have the sort of shield scenes at the beginning and the MCU dotted throughout, but it's done so well. They make a really good first impression with, in fact, all these introductions. The writing, everything's done really well. It's really strong. But I love how all the characters play off each other. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. I think I must have watched this film 10 or 12 times.
My gosh, really?
Yeah. No, I really love these Ant-Man films. I think they're really good.
Wow.
I think these are nice family movies as well. Like, I think it ticks, the family box. You can watch it on your own without the kids. It's a really good movie. Like, I really enjoy watching this film. So, I think was it Michael Douglas and Paul Rudd are really good together. So
yeah, it's definitely like the serious guy playing against the class clown.
Yeah. Like they play off really well together. But actually, that's a nice little jump into our favorite characters. And I sort of was reflecting on this a little bit. Like, my least favorite character is probably the villain of the story. Well, no, like, as in, he's strong enough to, but I don't feel like he's strong, as in he's quite evil, and he's quite vicious, and he's quite, he kills people quite recklessly, but there's very little in terms of character development for him. He's quite one note. I've forgotten his bloody name. Yellow Jacket.
Corey Stoll.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so the Yellow Jacket. All of that is pretty cool. I just wish in some ways it was, again, Marvel, they don't tend to keep villains around for more than one film. So, well, a lot of comic book movies do that. But in terms of favorite characters, I'm really struggling. There's so many, like, who I want to choose. Like, I was just so different for so many different reasons. Like, obviously, Paul Rudd, I think, carries this movie, like, brilliantly. I think Michael Douglas as Hank Pym is really good. What's his name? Oh, that's it. Michael Pena.
Michael Pena. Oh my God, I love Luis.
Luis is like one of the best characters going.
Check this out. I was talking to my cousin Ignacio.
Yeah. I like, honestly, how he does this. Check this. Like, honestly, I could not do this. I saw, like, so my cousin, and they're like, can you just get to it? But I love how, like, Hank Pym and Luis are together, and Hope Van Dyne as well, when they bring in, like, his sort of gang crew.
Yeah.
And I love how they have to mix, like you say, the seriousness with the comedy.
Yes.
Like, honestly, how Michael Douglas must stand in that room and keep that straight face.
I have no idea. That takes skill.
Like, if like I had Mike Penner just doing that whole, so my cousin, like, I can't even do it. Like, that is skill. That acting is skill. So I love all of that. So Michael Penner is, I don't know, Paul Rudd, Hank Pym, Michael Douglas, and Michael Pena, like, just they're like my three favorites in one. And the combination of all of them is just so good. Like, how they can play that comedy, but even like, what's his name? The weird guy in their crew, not T.I., the other one,
David Dastmalchian.
Kurt, who David has shown up pretty much everywhere. He's in Suicide
I loved
Squad.
him in Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, rather.
The bug guy or something like that.
No, he was Polka Dot Man.
Oh, Polka Dot Man. Yeah. He's like, I forgot about that. So, like, but even T.I. is really good in this film. Like, they whoever did the casting should win an award, and we do know you can win an award for casting.
Yeah.
So, do you remember that? I can't remember which film that was. We were shocked that somebody won but they should win an award for the casting in this movie. They've done really well.
Everyone worked really well together. Like, this was, I mean, I would definitely say that this is an ensemble cast. And they nailed it. The cast has such great chemistry, and that's why it's so hard for you to pick, like, a favorite character, because everybody is just so good at their specific role. Like, I love, even the kid, even Cassie was good. Like, I liked her a lot too. I would say my favorite was definitely, though, Luis and Cross were my favorite. You didn't like the villain, but I love Corey Stoll. And
I mean, no, I like him as an actor. He was in that film. He was in that TV show I used to watch. The Strain.
Oh my God, I love The Strain. Yeah. So I met Corey Stoll when I lived in LA. We were hosting a film festival at the theater that I worked at, and he was there, and I was like, oh my God. At the time, he had just come off of Lucky Number 11, which is one of my favorite movies. And I was like, oh my God, I loved you in Lucky Number 11. And he was like, you've seen that? And I was like, yes, of course I've seen that. But he's so nice. Like to me, his actual personality is pretty much his, like, the nice side of the version that you see in this film. Like when he's bubbly and smiley, like that is very much him not doing very much acting, because that is just his personality. But I love the kind of villain who is ambitious enough to be like, yo, I know you my mentor, but fuck you. Like, I'm about to take everything that you ever made and I'm going to do it better. So I loved his ambition as the villain in this film. I know you said he's kind of one note, and I can see that, but like, I just enjoyed that he was so cutthroat and like, we're going to do this at all costs. Like that one sequence where that one guy, after the, this is toward like the beginning of the film, but after the demonstration, he's like, no, man, that's too much power. Like you don't need to be selling anything like that. And he just like vaporizes that guy in the bathroom.
I know, like, and then he cleans him up with with
a paper towel.
Toilet paper. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was so good. He's just so casual, like leaning against the sink. Like that is the kind of villain that is my favorite type of villain, where they're just so nonchalant about murder. They're just like, oh, vaporize you. Let me just go ahead and wipe this muck up off the floor and keep on trucking. So yeah, I definitely say Corey Stoll as Cross, and then Michael Pena as Luis were my two favorite characters in this film. But I did enjoy everyone. Like I just thought everybody played so well off of each other.
I just got up some information about casting. So Jessica Chastain was originally offered the role of Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have? I don't think so.
Oh, she'd have been great.
No, I prefer the what's the name?
Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah. I think I prefer that casting. I'm a huge Lost fan, so whatever she's in,
I think Jessica Chastain to me is like a chameleon. Like when she takes on something, she is, to me, it's so different than a lot of the stuff that she's done before. I love her. I think she would have brought a level of elevation to the role of Hope. But I honestly don't see why they would have needed to go as high caliber as Jessica Chastain, because I think she would have outshined Paul Rudd.
Yeah, that could be why. Well, you're right. She would have stood out above them, and she may not have liked the fact that the Wasp wasn't in this movie. So, anyway, I thought that was an interesting take. I always wonder. It's always interesting to hear like other
who almost got it right.
Who almost got it. Yeah. So, but overall, I think this cast was really good. It isn't just an Ant-Man movie. You know, like some movies are really carried by, like Robert Downey Jr. The Iron Man films are carried by Robert Downey Jr. This film is carried by all of them.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Like even like the little bits like Lewis, T.I. and
even like Bobby Cannavale's role as the cop. Like everybody has a part to play, but like they all play it well.
Yeah. And I've forgotten his ex-wife, but she shows up in lots of things as the mum. Mm-hmm. So she's not a massive actress, but she shows up in a lot. So the structure of the movie itself, I think it's well written, well paced. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually they do really well, like I've said this a minute ago, interlinking it with the MCU and also breaking down a good, strong origin movie but the origin of Scott, the origin of Hank, Hope, Janet as well, very briefly gets a mention and a cameo, as well as the introduction of the Pym particle and its links to SHIELD. I just think how they juggle this overall movie while allowing the creators like Peyton Reed, you know, the screenplay and the cinematography to have their own style and let them breathe on their own. But they also very cleverly link to those sort of it's like a bridge, like you say, from phase 2 into phase 3.
It does its job. Like if this is going to be the last film of the phase, you're kicking off the next phase. Like this is a perfect film for that, because it wraps up the second phase and it leads you straight into phase 3. Like this movie does so well. You said earlier it was a standalone, and it definitely is a standalone. Like they mentioned the Avengers. So even if you've not seen all of the MCU movies, like you have an idea of who the Avengers are. So you don't have to have all of that background knowledge. Like, yeah, they talk about Shield, they mention Hydra briefly, and they mention the Avengers, and of course we have the sequence with Anthony Mackie, but you don't have to, like, this is not like you had to watch the 10 films that came before it to understand this film. Like, the way that they used the MCU history was done really well, to where it didn't feel like this burden to sit there and watch Ant-Man.
Do you have a favorite scene at all, or scenes?
So it's not like one particular scene, but the way that they did Luis's stories was so good to me. Like, it would start with Luis be like, yo, so I was talking to my cousin Ignacio, and then it would just like go into this voiceover, but the voiceover and the lip syncing is perfect.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's like when they did those whole sequences, like with the housekeeper, and then they did it toward the end of the film with the writer, the super hot writer chick or whatever. I love the way that they did those little flashback sequences. I thought that that was just so fun, and it fit the character's personality. Like, that definitely feels like that's exactly what is happening in Luis's mind as he's telling you this story. So I thought that the way that they did that was really cool.
I think I love that, you just said about Lewis's. I love Lewis's whole narration. It's cool, but I love that actually Hank Pym knew that he would get. That's how clever Hank Pym is.
Yeah.
He knows that Lewis hears about sort of eighth hand gossip, like that he's well connected to his local network.
Yeah.
But so Hank Pym knew that he would hear this story, so he like dropped the news 8 people away, and it fed its way to Lewis. Like, that for me was really clever. I love the fact that we have Lewis's funny comedy moment that actually was used well for storytelling. So it wasn't just actually a funny moment. It was a funny moment, but the cleverness of the writing here is that they use that funny moment to actually show how Scott ended up in Hank Pym's house stealing the Pym particles and the Ant-Man suit. It was very well cleverly structured and set up nicely to have them all involved. I love the whole build up of it, and actually you can find out how clever Hank Pym is. So
it reminded me a lot of Ocean's 11, like the way that they would go back and tell the story after the action had already happened. So I love the way that they did that. So not necessarily like a favorite scene, but I love the way that they portrayed that in the film. So I would say those are my favorites.
There's so many good moments in there, like even like Scott breaking in, just showing his ingenuity. So you can see like why Hank obviously wants Scott to go and steal the yellow jacket and stop all that research, etc. He wants to bring it to an end. So Hank is obviously the scientist, but Scott is obviously the man on the ground. And he recognizes his role. He is the thief. And obviously his Hope is angry that Hank's not sending Hope out, and Scott's like, no, he's sending me because I'm dispensable. Like, he loves you, that's why you can't go. But then when you see him in action, where he melts the thing and gets the fingerprint and etc., I was like, this guy, like, he's good. He said
he was a mechanical engineer, so
but he's good at what he does, and I think it's great. Like, but one of my favorite scenes though is between Anthony Mackie and Paul Rudd, where they're having the fight scene. It's just so funny. It's a really funny moment, and Anthony Mackie as well is a serious guy. So you can imagine him and Paul Rudd. Like, Anthony Mackie's trying to be like straight faced while also trying to fight a guy who shrinks down to the size of an ant. And and afterwards he's like, don't let anyone tell Cap.
Don't tell Cap. Don't ever tell Cap about this. What's funny to me though is that Anthony Mackie, they make Falcon this like super serious guy. Anthony Mackie is the biggest jokester on all of the Avenger sets. Like, every time he is on set, he is the guy that you got to watch out for, because he's most likely to break character, yet he plays such a serious part.
I always remember Tom. This is before Captain America 4 was announced. I always remember Tom Holland and Anthony Mackie being interviewed, and he was giving him grief, giving Tom Holland grief, like banter. And then Tom Holland turns around and goes, "Oh, what's your solo movie? What's that called?" And Anthony Mackie's like, yeah, whatever. So, like, it was funny how he was ribbing Tom Holland. But anyway, No, I think overall, this is a great movie. It's a really good family movie, MCU movie, standalone movie. It's so well written.
Yeah.
Cinematography is excellent. I love this movie. It's a really good movie. Like I said, I watched it like 12 times. I want to save any fives because we still haven't seen 3 yet.
But my only beef with this film was the relationship between Hank and Hope. Not Hank, Scott and Hope. Because I felt like that came out of nowhere. Like we knew it was going to happen, but like it came out of nowhere. There was no build up to them before they actually kissed. So I did not, that was out of place. I think they could have kept alluding to it and then made it something bigger in the second film, which they do make it bigger in the second film.
Yeah.
It just seemed very out of place and rushed. That is my biggest beef with this.
I think they threw that in. They didn't want to have the romance be at the front. Yeah. But they also didn't want Hope to be the romantic side piece of the movie. So they kind of, but they also didn't want to leave the audience with like, oh, nothing happened. Like there was no, most of these films, there is an element of a love interest and there was no time to really develop that love interest.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's probably
you could have left it at like flirting. Like you could have left it at a maybe we will, and then you just confirm it in the second film.
Actually, I did like it when he was like, "Oh, Hope, I can't believe you did that."
Yeah, I can't believe you did that. Yeah.
And as he's walking away, Hank was shouting out, "You're full of shit, Scott." And he's like, "I know." So Scott was clearly after her. So, and that was good. I like that moment between the three of them. I like that Hank's like, "You're full of shit, Scott."
Yeah.
So, I'm actually really excited to watch the second one again for next week. So I thought it was a great movie. But anyway, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. Okay.
I'm not going to go that high. I'm going to give it a 4. But I think that 4 is definitely higher than I would have given it in 2015. So I enjoyed it more this time around. So we'll see.
Next episode, we will be reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp. How did you know? Did you know? Like, did you figure it out?
Goodness.
I think that should be fine for the following week, Ant-Man 3. Anyway, so you can follow us on social media. We are Geeks and Niche everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just Geeks and Niche. Hit us up.
Yep, and you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. We're everywhere. So please leave us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends.
Thank you very much. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.
Good journey.